here. Nice to see all of you. Wonderful. Happy that the consultants are able to be with us here tonight. Thank you for making the trip up. Much appreciated. A number of things that we'd like to go over tonight. Let me first say that I did get some email notices this afternoon that both Emil and Kristen Kasner won't be able to attend this evening. But in any event, there are several of us here and happy that we can move ahead. So why don't we
I
take
think we have
attendance
to call to order or
first?
something.
You want to start, Marnie?
Marnie Crouch, present. Rosie Kennedy here.
Bill Wilson, present.
Dayton Alera, present.
Caroline Beaulieu, present.
Kristen Piper, present.
Jack Lawrence, present.
Just like Christmas, a present.
Right. Well, that certainly provides us with a quorum, so thank you for being here tonight. We do have I think what's a pretty concise agenda for tonight.
Do we have members present online that are not, no, sorry.
There's one hand up.
Yeah, Greg
Yes, hello.
and Lauren. We need to call them, let them.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Greg, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Sorry I couldn't join you in person tonight.
No worries, just want to make sure we get you accounted for. And
Thanks,
Lauren,
hi everybody. Yeah, sorry I couldn't join either.
Thank you again. It's a good thing I'm not chewing gum tonight.
some hot mics.
All right.
Yeah.
First thing that we need to do, let me announce that I did receive an email resignation from Jack from being the chair of the committee, I guess about a month ago. So that precipitates our need to undertake a committee reorganization. So leave that open to the members to pursue.
Patrick,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a nomination and nominate Jack Lawrence, 105 Rock Maple, member. I'd like to make a nomination, and that is Kristen Kasner. I think she's a little busy right now, but I think she has been a tremendous vice chair of this committee up till now, and I think she's probably still going to be a little busy, but I think she'd be a great chair of this committee.
So without her present to accept the nomination, I don't know how that works. She also said that she was interested in either continuing as the vice chair or as a member.
She said that?
Yeah, in a text I just got from her.
Okay.
So I don't,
Are we willing to accept other nominations?
Yeah, I think that we need to undertake nominations, please.
Yep.
Yeah, she said she's not interested. I tried to call this afternoon. I was coming down from Vermont, so.
Yeah, I don't want to read in too much to it, but her text said, I'm happy to continue as vice chair or as just a member.
You nominate, I'll
I
second.
also wonder if there's any conflict of interest type.
She said there was not. She cannot be elected to, we were just having this, she cannot be elected to something like a select board, but she can. Yeah, what, do you have a nomination?
I do, but I think we need to give an opportunity, like, I think it should go that there should be an opportunity if someone wants to second the nomination of Kristen, and then other people could put forth other nominations if they'd like to.
Got it.
So I'd like to nominate Emil.
Okay. How does it work when they're not here? I thought you had to be present to accept the nomination.
Yeah, I believe that's Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Can he come jump on the Zoom? I don't know. I don't know. Emil has so much experience.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
I nominate Bill Wilson.
I'll second that nomination.
And then,
I just had one question, whether or not we could continue the reorganization until such time as the people who have been nominated for chair can be here.
can I ask H.W. Kim, we've got a little feedback going on the microphones. I think I want to speak to what Carolyn said, which is that I believe the way that procedurally, the way it should work is that each person should put forth a nomination. Each nomination should then need to be seconded, and then the person that's being nominated would ask whether or not they would accept that nomination, and then we would have the slate of potential candidates, is the way, my understanding of how that ought to work, which would indicate that the person would need to be present.
So we have a seconded nomination.
We didn't.
For Bill.
Would you be, if
Yeah, no,
elected, would you
I,
accept that?
You know, I'm willing to accept. You know, I've experienced being a chair. I was chairman of school committee for years, a selectman chair for a while. I too have a busy schedule. I currently sit on the Capcom committee. I've been on affordable housing, but with a solid chair, I'm happy to do it. If you're looking for someone who was historically with the board or the steering committee, I wasn't. I'm new to the committee, quick learner, happy to do it. But yeah.
I don't know what we want to do about the fact that I will just put forward that the reason I didn't nominate Bill in addition to his resume, but is also because I do think we are doing a fresh start. And I know that you have the skill set, and I think that there's a benefit to this group to having someone who didn't sort of experience some of the turbulence that we experienced. So that was my thinking. Not that, again, I think I've said numerous times, I think that was fully owned by all of the members, the turbulence, not, so that was my thinking.
Well, Rosie nominated Emil Dahlquist, and I would second her nomination, and I say that for several reasons. One is Emil is retired, so he has the ability to devote himself fully to this task. And number two, he is, I think probably, other than Patrick, the sole professional planner. He's a longtime architect. He's been involved, though, in planning for many, many years. And I don't know if you received his latest iteration, but I think everyone recalls that he was able to formulate the outline that we all agreed on for the master plan, and his knowledge of planning principles and goals and how to implement what the public perceives as its community needs is really quite extensive. And so that's why I asked the question whether or not we could delay the reorganization to see if he would accept this nomination, because he really does have the breadth of planning experience, and also, I think, leadership, too, because he was professionally involved in the town of Simsbury. So, and I have worked with him on the planning board, and I think Patrick will attest to his knowledge about design principles, and he has just a breadth of experience about town planning.
I couldn't agree more about Emil's. I think everyone on the committee has seen I think my personal view is that we're really not looking for someone with the expertise in planning. What we're looking for is someone with to run the meeting. I know in my own experience currently as the school committee chair, I definitely don't have the most knowledge in the room. But it's about being able to run the meeting, being organized and able to run the meeting. That's not saying in any way saying that Emil is not capable of that, just saying that I think his skills are going to be brought to the meeting, his planning skills, regardless of whether he's the chair or not. Right now.
And then just to the question about potentially holding off, it seems to me, based on the last meeting, that we don't have time to hold off. I think we
sort of said 6 to 8 months we need to
Okay,
get this
6
done.
to 8 months, so I think.
There's a lot to do.
Monthly, like, we can't lose another month, so my recommendation would be to move forward with the candidates that we have in person, because that is our understanding of the rules.
Well, we have 3 candidates nominated, and we only have 1 in the room, and I think it would be unfair to not give 3 candidates the opportunity to present their strengths. I think we have a very capable consultant who does a great job of organizing the meetings, and I think that we should give fair opportunity to both Emil and to Kristen.
I think that, if I may, if Kristen has stated that she's not interested in taking the job, and she's going to be a busy person for sure, hopefully she wins this seat on the Great and General Court, which doesn't sound like it's going to happen overnight. But anyway, I would say I would withdraw her nomination and hope that she will take the vice chairmanship instead, and I would shift my nomination to Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I do recognize, I agree that the timing is rough. I also think the agenda was posted, we knew we were doing this. I think if there was an interest, like, we agreed when this meeting would be. We do have a motion seconded on the floor for Bill. We can move it to a vote. If people want to do that.
Any guidance from the consultants on skill sets that make sense, having worked with other communities, you know, from a chair in a position for a community? Like, some good comments about having planning experience and such, or leadership, or facilitating meetings. What's the skill set that's most?
Organizing, running the meeting and making sure everybody has a chance to speak.
Yeah, that's my.
And I can't underscore how important that is, that no one is sort of dominating the process. Somebody we can coordinate with too, you know, who's sort of available to coordinate with, but in terms of just things like you're going to hear tonight about the community meeting where we want to talk about, and there's going to need to be some organization on this end in terms of just committee members needing to take some responsibility for certain roles. Now, some of that can be done by Patrick, but the chair is a different person. Chair is of you, and Patrick is staff. So sometimes I just think a chair who can kind of motivate members, not that you guys need motivation, but to be able to organize people, I think is just important. That's what I've seen.
Okay, appreciate it.
I move to nominate Bill as the new chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee.
Don't we already have
And
that?
to keep Kristen as the vice chair.
Yeah, so we have a seconded motion on the table
I think
for,
you're probably moving to vote.
to vote.
Right. So you would move to
Yeah,
vote,
yeah.
and then we'd have to do Kristen separately.
Yep,
Yep.
great. All right, we can just go around the room.
Are we voting on whether to vote, or are we just voting?
We're voting on the motion
To nominate
to make
Bill the chair.
Bill the chair of the group. You want to start?
Marnie Crouch, aye.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill Wilson, aye.
Dana Alera, aye.
Caroline Beaulieu, aye.
Kristen Piper, aye.
Jack Lawrence, aye.
On the phone, Lauren,
Lauren Lynch, aye.
Greg,
Greg Keller, aye.
Ted,
Ted Eckworth for Bill Wilson, aye.
I don't,
Appreciate the confidence.
and I have gotten confirmation that we cannot nominate anyone who isn't present to accept the nomination. So for vice chair, and I think the vice chair role, Jack, keep us honest, was actually created because there were two people. Is a vice chair necessary? I think is my
It's
question.
up to you. That's entirely
Or
up to
we
you.
certainly could, in other words, we could, if, we would have a chair for this meeting because we just elected you, right? Congratulations.
Thank you.
We certainly, if people wanted to, could wait till the next meeting to elect
To a vice chair, yeah.
you. If, or we could do it tonight, whatever.
I think we have two candidates that are most likely, right, and they're not here, so I recommend we just wait till the next meeting.
Thank you.
Now, does that mean the existing vice chair just carries through until we vote otherwise?
Yes.
Okay.
But at least we know how.
But she's not here.
Yeah, we have like a point of contact.
We don't need any activity, but I can call it. All right, I see we have an agenda. I didn't make it, but I'm happy to run through it, unless you had something other, Patrick, or from the consultants. We just move on to
This is
website
the
updates?
route.
Okay. Who's got the website updates?
I do.
Okay.
So not only do I have a website update, I have a nice little PowerPoint for all of you. So we have a couple talking points during this meeting. First up, website update, followed by existing conditions update, and then we're going to speak more on the community meeting plan, as Judy mentioned previously. Just to cut to website update, there has been an update. I've updated the header so far. It's now home, resources, meetings and presentations, steering committee, and town website as the header tab. So far, you cannot see resources or steering committee. That is because I'm calling on all of you for your help. Specifically, if one person wants to step up to volunteer to help me get photographs of all of you, as well as your, yeah, I know that look, it could be your professional headshot. As well as your affiliations, because as you mentioned,
Yeah.
a few of you are already elected to different boards or committees in town. It'd be great to see that. It's on the official town website, but it's great to have it here as well. You could also include other organizations in town where people can find you. That's up to you, of course. And then I need some photos of Hamilton. All of you speak about how beautiful it is, and I can't just steal them off the internet.
And
So.
my pictures from 20 years ago, I no longer have.
We had, I had a photo shoot about 6 months ago of just all demographics in town, and I can share that with you. I think there are about 75 photos. There are kids running with the
my goodness.
football, and people playing pickleball, and people sitting with their grandchildren in Patton Park. So there's a variety, and I'd be happy to donate them.
That would be great. Thank you so much. And if anyone would volunteer to help me bring together everyone's headshots, that would be great.
Yeah, we really need, you'd be amazed. People
That's
don't
just
assume
basically
everybody knows
nagging
you.
people by email to send their.
Yes.
I'm willing to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
So is there a place we can upload them, or do we email them?
We can
or-
create a Dropbox to
Yes.
share.
Dropbox would
Actually, I
be
think we
great.
have one now. I think we have a shared Dropbox now. Pardon for the reverberation in here, but we could certainly make that available.
Yeah.
Okay.
As well as, there's a couple updates, as I said before. Resources now include previous plans, so hazard mitigation plans, HPPs, the previous master plan from 20 years ago. All of that is up, will be up on the website for context in case someone wants to come to our meeting and wants a little bit more information about what they're getting themselves into. So not only will that be ready and up once we get some more photos, we'll have steering committee member profiles up as well. So it makes it a little bit more inviting. If they see you in the grocery store, you're now going to have to speak to the process a little bit because they can point you out of a crowd, but that's an exciting update for the website. Any questions about that?
One question, Mr. Chair. I believe on the bottom row, the second from the right is in Wenham.
It probably is, and, you know,
Nice.
we're just trying to get pictures, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know where's he?
Good eye there, Jack.
Much.
Yeah.
That'll be altered once we have more photos.
Yeah, we can just pretend it's, we can pretend it's Hamilton. We could just move the town line. But seriously, it's a challenge for us coming into the project in this season because it's not the time to be taking pictures of the town. So in addition to the demographics that you mentioned, which is always helpful because frankly, that's the stuff we usually don't have, just pictures of different imagery in the town, you know, housing, institutional settings, you know, open space, those kinds of things that really bring color and life to a master plan. Anything you have will be really much welcome and appreciated. So we can share a Dropbox and have a folder in it that says, photos here. You can upload stuff.
And there will be weekly updates, so I check the website every Wednesday just to make sure that future events are going up, all steering committee events are going up, so people can direct themselves to that and stay informed. That's all I have for the website.
Awesome. So from an action perspective, will you be sending out a link to the Dropbox to all our emails, and we'll, a week or two, or what do you recommend?
What we'll do is we'll send it to Patrick, and
Okay.
unless, I don't think we have everybody's emails at
Do
this
not.
point. So Patrick can send it all to you, and if you CC us, Patrick, then we'll have all their email addresses.
And do we have a list of everybody's name and kind of maybe other committees they're on and contact information?
We can do that.
That'd be
That'd
helpful.
be great.
A good place to start, the email reminder of the meeting tonight had all of the meeting members
Okay.
on it.
Excellent. Looks good.
Can I, sorry, just a
Yep.
quick maybe comment. I know there are some folks in town who do a lot of landscapes and photography of Hamilton. See them on Facebook, on our
Yeah.
own community group sometimes, so okay to reach out to them and see if they would like to offer some there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Jay Burnham,
Jay Burnham.
would be delighted.
That's who
Would be
I'm
delighted.
thinking of. Yep.
And some
so-
drone pictures.
Great.
Do you need bios with our headshots, or is it just headshots?
Headshots, affiliations, name, that should be it.
Okay, I feel like, so it's, okay. If you have no affiliations, it's just gonna say your name.
At large, or, designate at large, or, I don't know how. I don't
Community,
quite
I
know.
believe it was community representative or something.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that we didn't then have a second to do
Yep.
any sort of biographies at all. Great.
No, you don't need to go that far. That's fine.
I happen to.
No dossiers.
With my illustrious biography, I'm always happy to.
I see.
Yeah, mhm. Yep,
Along with a glamour photo.
absolutely. I'm gonna have to take a selfie and send it to Dana. It's gonna be the highlight of my day. Yeah.
So just so everybody knows, the genesis of this is that the prior consultant had set up a website, but it wasn't, it looked like it hadn't really been populated. So we said, oh, sure, we'll take it over, and then we got it and realized it was a platform we weren't really familiar with, so it took a while to get to this point, but I think.
What's it built on?
Wix.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the free Wix?
not free Wix.
Oh,
Okay,
no, it's
that's-
definitely not free.
Subscription Wix.
Okay.
However, we are more familiar with Squarespace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So Carly had to spend a lot of time on that, but I mean, it'll be nice when it's ready. And, you want to be able to say to people, go to our website.
Yeah.
And it's just really an important part of outreach for a master plan, so.
Right.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? We need pictures. We need
Is there
your
something
headshots.
in the website that talks just about the history of Hamilton and when it was, like our website, I think, has that, correct, Patrick? The Hamilton site. We could even just grab that if it's redundant, maybe.
2004 master plan has a great, that
the
Ms.
2000.
Barrett was heavily involved in, and that was a great history. Wonder if we could just use that.
We could,
Let's take a look at both.
yeah.
It's a good idea.
Is the goal to have all of this updated before the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Well, we should then also maybe figure out how Joe can do a renewed push to the community about the website.
Yeah.
Put it in the town manager report and then put it on the Hamilton Facebook page or whatever, just so that we can try to drive some eyeballs back there.
I think that's great. And I mean, when it's ready is the time to push it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever that is,
Yeah.
just let us know and we'll
Okay.
ask Joe.
We'll be leaning on you.
So do we want to put a date on, when the link goes out to the Dropbox, when we should have it back by?
We can send the Dropbox link tonight
Right?
because it already exists. When do we want to get content from them?
I would love to get it within the next week.
Is that doable for you folks, the next week? Okay.
Yeah, certainly the headshots, and then we can start with pictures, but we could probably keep that rolling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would imagine that we may see some continued contributions to
Yeah.
that for a bit, as more people find out we need pictures, and
Okay.
we're happy to credit anybody who gives us photography, believe me, so. Want to move on then?
Yes. So next up is still us. When it
Oh.
comes to existing conditions update, Judy, we would like to take it away.
Oh, sure. So I had high hopes that we were going to be able to use the existing documents drafts and just update them. So we had someone in my office really go through them very carefully, probably trying to read them through my eyes, I think I actually probably beat that into him. And so what we've done, I think I mentioned at the first meeting, RKG is going to update their economic development section because it's just faster for them to do it. They already, they have the data, they're taking care of it. We should have their update in another week or so. But there are other sections that really almost are starting from scratch. And they include community services, land use, housing, and cultural historic resource areas. The community services one really is like we're starting from scratch. So Joe has kindly reached out to the town staff to help us just arrange some interviews with people, because often the town staff kind of have the information that you need. They've got the data. You talk to the Council on Aging. She or he, whoever's the director, has their annual reports to the Department of Elder Affairs, and you just get a lot of information out of that. So some department heads have now contacted us to schedule an interview, and I think right after the holidays, Joe will put out another push, and I think we'll get most of the people that we need. Some of what we need, we can mine from town reports or budgets and so forth, but there's no substitute for talking to people. I mean, there's a perspective that's needed on these documents. So that's what we're trying to get to. The land use piece, can you go back?
Yes, sorry.
That's all right. The land use one is pretty basic. It just needs a lot more depth. So Tyler's going to take that one because he's typically done a lot of the land use elements for other master plans we've done. We have to figure out who's going to do housing. So the situation with the housing piece is that when Jen Goldson worked with the town a couple of years ago on a housing production plan update, part of her contract was to also prepare what would be the housing element of the master plan update. And it's very different in format and so forth from all the other documents. It's also too long. So we're going to figure out how we're going to make that work. It's a significant rewrite, but it's also a data update. She did that work 3 years ago. And we've had at least 2 rounds of American Community Survey updates since then, and Census 2020, for which we don't have a lot of information at this point because it hasn't been released, but there's some. And then cultural and historic resource areas is nowhere. So once we get through the conversations with the department heads for community facilities, I think I'm going to be reaching back out to you, or you can do it now. Who do we talk to about cultural resource areas? I mean, I know you have a historic district commission. I think you have a historical commission. There's usually a historical society. They're all kind of different, but they tend to overlap. We're going to have to just talk to people. So my hope to have all of this done by the end of January, I think, is just was too optimistic. I think this is probably going to take us into February to get these all pulled together. So I'm just wanting to update you about where it is there. It's too bad.
So the old members spent quite a bit of time editing the previous documents, and so are you looking at those versions with our okay,
Yep.
good. Because I feel like there were areas where we would highlight where something wasn't, completely accurate or didn't seem to resonate with.
What I don't know is how much was changed based on your comments.
Probably nothing.
So I have to go with my eyes on this and kind of my experience, both having worked here before, but also just we've done a lot of master plans. You look at a document, you have a sense of what it should contain. And if it's kind of there with content, but just editorially needs a lot of work, that's one thing. If the content's not there, it's another.
Yeah, and
So
I think
there's
we
just a
made a
level
lot
of-
of editorial comments and some content.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you had those versions.
I believe that we do. So the former consultant was actually very helpful to us in terms of giving us like a massive data dump of everything that they had, which was great. And I think we have what we're supposed to. What we don't have is what we most need, which is information. So there's a lot more research that I think is going to be needed on our part to get those documents up to speed. I'm just leveling with all of you, so I'm asking for some patience on this.
Judy, I think one of the criticisms that we had was a lot of the research that was done on these categories was pretty much Google search oriented and not really speaking to the people in town. There was very little of that. So I certainly applaud your approach that we need to speak to people.
Oh, have to, yeah.
Yeah, there was not any of that. It was very, very frustrating. But nonetheless, you're here now, and I'm sure things will improve. Thank you.
Judy, the stuff was really terrible, and so much of the data was really old, 2004, 2006. Do you now have some good current data from the 2020 census that will give us a halfway accurate view of the town? What they were showing on most of their stuff was mediocre, is being very kind, I think.
So, you know, back when I worked here before, we didn't really have what we have now from the Census Bureau, which is the American Community Survey, which comes out every year. It's 5-year rolling averages, and it's just this wonderful data set. We have that now, and it comes out every December, and it's this 5-year rolling average. Census 2020, we actually have very little information from still. There are several states where the Census Bureau is still reviewing the population counts, possibly for some corrections. Massachusetts is on that list. So we have the Census 2020 population, we have households, we have housing. That's about it. And the racial breakdown for the community. That's about all we have. So we really have to work with the ACS, American Community Survey, for demographic data. The economic data we might have pulled, I'm not worrying about because RKG is going to take care of that. The rest of this is like your municipal finance information. That's a combination of Joe and the Massachusetts Department of Revenue Municipal Data Bank. We can get all that. The open space and recreation, I don't know how old your open space plan is right now. I'm drawing a blank, but that typically is a pretty rich resource for these projects.
There was an update in 2019, I believe.
Thank you. So, I mean, that's going to be the source for things like the natural resource inventory. That's going to come right out of the open space plan. Probably some updates, perhaps. Maps also have to be done. I mean,
They were showing Brattle Trails as roads.
yeah, well, they
We
may not
tried to
have
correct a
known.
lot of them, but I'm not sure we got all of them, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, we're just going to start our own maps, so just don't worry about that.
Where does the school district live in these categories?
So the school district is definitely part of community services and facilities, and this again is why we need to talk to people. We can get your school profile data from the Department of Education. There's a fair amount of information on the regional school website about the budget and so forth, but you got to talk to people. I don't know, we got to talk to people. But that's where they would reside.
So would we want to get liaisoned into each of these categories and kind of help facilitate, or do we wait till you come
We may
through?
need that. I mean, Joe right now is helping us on community facilities and services because I know we need to talk to department heads. We just got to talk to town staff. They're a fountain of information. We may need to talk to a couple of board and committee chairs, but most of what we need for that is the town staff.
Tim knows all that stuff. Tim Olson knows all that stuff.
Yeah, so we'll get the information. When we get to the point where we need to talk to somebody from the schools or whatever, you know, I guess maybe what we should probably do is make sure Patrick gets all the communication, so there's like a central point. But, you know, if you can help us, maybe direct us to a committee member who might be able to be the person to, I have a feeling you might be it, but anyway, the person who could sort of facilitate some of that communication.
I think as we provide headshots and affiliations, it might help us hone in on who might be helpful in a certain area.
Yeah, and we might,
I'm the school committee chair.
I'm
so
sorry,
I was
yeah.
going there.
No, I mean, but I thought you were speaking in general, that you might want other departments or other, but yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's.
Schools, yes, I can certainly.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to talk to them, you know, public safety people. And then there's this whole issue about the Wenham connection, too, which is another kind of rich detail here that you just don't find in other communities, so.
A lot of
They
touch
happen
points.
to be doing their master plan right now
Yeah, I
as
know.
well.
Yeah.
And they look forward to having a joint meeting with us if that's possible.
Yeah, I've talked to Jen. I mean, we've sort of, kind of, I think they're probably a little ahead of us at this point, but we can certainly arrange that.
I think especially if we're talking schools, we ought to be consistent, right? It's the same regional
Yeah.
district.
Well, it's also recreation. I mean, you've got that as well.
Libraries.
Right, the library. I mean.
That's a big section. You don't think schools should be its own? It's a big
We usually
draw. It's
don't. I
not?
mean, these are the elements that are called for in state law.
Okay.
And, you know, I think down the road, if the town decides it wants to do more than what we're engaged to do, you could think about maybe splitting some of that up. But this is kind of what we can tackle within our contract. And so they'll get plenty of play, but it's community services where they really belong.
Okay.
With respect to land use, are you able to find data as to the amount of land that's in conservation restrictions? Is there a database at the Commonwealth that deals with that? I actually think that it might have to be approved at the, by the Commonwealth, but I would have to go back and really research that. But I think it would be, in terms of land use, very helpful to know how much land is restricted as conservation land, and also how much land is chapter land. And obviously, chapter land, you might be able to get that information from the assessor's
We will,
office because
yeah.
it's not taxed.
Right.
But I think for mapping purposes, to know where the conservation land is, that's in, to be conserved in perpetuity on a map, and also the chapter land that may or may not remain that way for many, many years.
So typically what we would do, we would start with the assessor's data because there are specific land use codes for chapter land.
Right, right.
And so it's not a problem to map those properties. The CRs is that's another question, because that often is not easily decipherable from the assessor's file. Your open space plan should have a list of all the properties that are under CRs. So we'll have to look at the open space plan and see what it says. Whether we can actually then represent that on a map, I guess it depends on whether the data are available in a mappable form.
Well, it's so important to know that, because in terms of any future development, the conservation land is off the table.
Understood. I'm just saying we'll have to work with the data that we can get.
Right.
There is an open space data layer that's maintained by MassGIS, which is the statewide GIS library. It's largely dependent on the accuracy of input from localities. So if Hamilton has kept up to date with its open space plan and geographic identification of the properties that are restricted, then the state layer is probably accurate.
We did have a presentation from Weston and Sampson on this exact topic. It must have been the specs for the open space
Yeah.
chapter. So I recall there was percentages of what was,
Yeah.
to be conserved in perpetuity and what wasn't, and what was buildable and what wasn't.
Well,
So
I think it's important to see that on a map. I mean, the percentage
I
is,
think they tried,
yeah.
I recall.
Yeah, and they may have had to rely on the state GIS library in order to illustrate what you have. And if that's not accurate, then we're going to have the same problem they did.
I was able, during the hiatus between Weston and Sampson, and luckily getting you folks on, I did some data compilation, and I was able to get all of those acreages throughout town.
Yep.
I was also, and I think I sent that to you about a month ago. I also found out that 44.1% of town is covered in Wetland Protection Act.
I think that's about right, yeah.
So you add on top of that the amount of land area that is reserved for conservation. We got a whole bunch of town that's off the books.
Right. I'm not surprised.
But our aura is bigger, right, Patrick, than we extend as a local bylaw, the wetlands protection.
What we did was we simply utilized in that map and in that area calculation, the area that the state covered. But to
So
your point,
can we get bigger?
there's even, an additional amount on top of that, unless a property has been mapped
Yep.
by a wetland scientist, we're
Yep.
not gonna know.
Right.
Now,
That's an extra 50 feet or something like
is the plan, are you guys sort of tackling these all together, or are you doing them one by one? And is the plan that you'll present them all at some point, or that they'll come in piecemeal?
I want to give them to you all at once.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It's just really common when you do it piecemeal for people to say, they'll be reading, they're looking for something, and it's not there. And they get frustrated, and I don't blame them, right? But it's because it's in another section. So it's to manage your anxiety and keep everything straight for us, that we're just going to do it as one kind of existing inventory of an assessment.
And do you feel like the editing of that will be like an extended meeting where we workshop it together, or do you see it more as an off hours?
We're going to submit to you our best effort to edit, update, correct, and develop those documents. You can't edit in a group like this.
Yeah.
I mean, so typically what we do is we would provide the document and we would give you what's called a comments matrix, which I think RKG may have used for their section anyway, because Eric and I did that on a project together before I left RKG. And it's a way for us to get kind of the comments in a consistent format, and also for us to be able to give the document back to you with our response. So we would be asking you guys to review the documents, provide your comments in the matrix, get them back to us. We go through them, figure out, what can we address? Do we have the information? Can we get the information reasonably within our scope? And if you guys think there's something that needs to be corrected, give us the source. Because otherwise, you could be thinking that something was wrong when maybe it really is right, and we don't know, right? So just give us the source. So we would then feed the whole thing back to you and say, here's a roster of all the comments we got from you, and here's how we responded to them, and this is the final version.
Thank you.
What we can't do is we just can't do multiple revisions.
And this document will be compiled, so not only will you have your comments, but then they'll be compiled with Rosie's, right? And then we'll make sure that there's no overlap between those. We'll make sure that if you're saying the same thing, okay, it's come up twice, we'll make note of that, but also it's just gonna be one big list that we go through and then hand back to you, so.
I do see value in a discussion, though, once comments are all in and going through it as a group, because do discussions back and forth. I understand the iteration piece, and we'll never get through it, but I'll facilitate that.
Oh, I mean, if you guys want to have a discussion meeting on your own about the
Well,
document,
there's so
I
many
think that's
different
fine.
disciplines in the room, it's just good feedback,
Yeah.
and you think of something you didn't think about by yourself when you're doing your comments.
Absolutely, and if that's how you want to do it, I mean, I'm not going to interfere
No, I
with
like
that.
the idea of, you picking a day, getting it to us, providing a window for comments, and then having a set number. Then maybe there's just an agenda item where we walk through it, Everyone's come prepared, they read it, it could be quick, could be a good discussion.
Okay.
I don't know if others feel that's,
Well, I think based on the 2004 master plan, that we will receive a document that is well-written. Clearly, there's one voice. And what I found in reviewing Weston and Sampson's work is that I stumbled over grammar and punctuation, and it was clear that the chapters were written by different people. So I think that your prior work speaks for itself, so I think that we will not have the kind of editorial morass that we had with the prior chapters, and we will be just in a position to comment. Maybe you should think about that. You forgot this, and you did this, and that's great. That type of thing, as opposed to punctuation
Yeah,
and
voice is a
spelling.
hard thing to accomplish on these projects, because it isn't one person doing all the work, right? But
Right.
you don't want to sort of destroy somebody's writing style. On the other hand, you have to think about the reader. And it's not just the reader in the room now, it's the reader 10 years from now.
Right.
I apologize, I have to depart for family dinner, but thank you for having me.
Enjoy. Nice to see you.
But there's a uniformity with respect to style.
Yeah.
And that was absent in the chapters. So you'd see a chapter where certain words were capitalized, and the next chapter they weren't. And it was those disparities that really For someone who
maybe
edited
as
legal
a-
documents for a long time, it was very frustrating to
As
see
an
that kind of
employee
stuff.
of yours, I can attest to the fact that much attention is paid to those sorts of issues. We do a lot internally to present a unified document.
Well, it isn't just for us, it's for the town.
of
And
course,
it's a reflection
absolutely,
of the town.
right.
It's about
And
creating a good document.
Yeah, it has to be really well written, and when I read the 2004 master plan, I mean, I thought the first chapter was phenomenal with the history and everything else. I was really, really impressed by it, so.
Okay.
Excellent. I think that's all we have for existing conditions. So
Okay.
moving along to our next point, the community meeting. So we have some tentative dates for this meeting, February 2nd or February 8th. And when you look at your calendar, I want you to kind of take this as, can I be there and can I assist in the process?
And which date does the committee want? So we need to arrive at, it takes a lot of work to pull these community meetings together, so when we met a month ago, I said, we need to do this, and these were just dates we came up with, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to throw something that's on my calendar, that on February 8th at 5 to, I don't know what time it is, 5 to 8 maybe, the League of Women Voters is holding a volunteer fair that I know the school committee is going to be representative, as well as like all, like the garden club, the other boards and committees I think are coming, so that actually it might present an opportunity, but it also might present a conflict. So I just want to.
What time is their event?
It starts at 5. I don't know what you're looking for. I think it's 5 to 8.
Yeah, so typically with these meetings would be like 6:30 or 7 to 9.
I'm sorry to have jumped right in, but I just sort of
That's
think
okay.
that's
It's good to
a
know.
large overlap. People that would actually
Yeah.
decide to attend a town-wide Hamilton-Wenham volunteer fair are likely going to be your same audience, I would
I understand.
guess.
So-
You know more than
And
I,
that's
but-
fine. No, I appreciate knowing it. I mean, these were two dates that we knew we could work, so we put a hold on them in our calendar, and it's just, we need to know, leaving here tonight, what that date is going to be, because there's a lot of work involved in getting ready for it. And there's, I mean, not just work on our part, but just the whole outreach, organizing the outreach process is a big deal.
Is this going to be an in-person, or is it going?
Yes.
Okay.
So the goal is for it to be in person, that we nail down the date, the time, and location tonight. Part of this is reflecting on where the first community meeting was. If it was in a space that you got a lot of attendance, it worked out well, people were able to move about the space, that would be great. I'm not exactly sure where the first meeting was, so.
Is that the middle school?
It was at the middle school.
Okay.
That was a really good space.
Good space, yeah.
It was good.
Was it well-attended, or?
Yeah, I think there are
How
between
many?
40 and 50 people, between 40 and 50.
I think we had a meeting there for the last plan.
I'm
I
sorry?
think we had a meeting there for the
You
last
did, yeah.
plan. Yeah, I think we did.
So the middle school worked well, that's one piece of the puzzle put in place, right? The middle school, if it's a great location, we can continue to work there, we can try and get that space on the books.
Okay.
We would need a time, as Judy said, it could go from 6:30 to 8:30, or 7 to 9. It's usually about a 2-hour deal, but people will start walking out about a half an hour early if it's in a lull.
There's another nice space, just thinking more centrally in town, the senior center is a nice space also, and
Okay.
I would just throw that out there for your consideration.
Okay.
And we did the first one on a Saturday morning, so we
Yeah.
weren't competing with sports, but I imagine there could be some competition with sporting events at the school on a Thursday or a Wednesday
Yeah,
night.
so someone will need to confirm whether we can even get that space.
Correct.
The school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to help facilitate that.
Right.
I would say, sporting-wise, I mean, that's the middle school multipurpose
Yeah.
room, so it's likely not
There's not
going
gonna
to
be
be a
like an event
conflict.
in there, but
But yes,
working in the
obviously.
school, like I'm just
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, no, it's definitely something to consider.
Westford did their visioning meeting for their master plan on a Saturday at 12:30. And they picked that time to avoid conflicts with youth sports. And I'll never forget being in this room, we had all this food, I mean, this was an elaborate thing. 12:20, like, no one's there. And I said, oh my God. And then 12:30, the skies opened up, and all these people showed up, and they ate all the food, and it was just, so that town really knew their people, is my point. It was just like, so they had the same sports thing, kids are in sports, we'll just invite everybody to come at 12:30. We did one in Medfield on a Sunday afternoon, and they did like a sit-down dinner, you know, so Littleton did a sit-down dinner too. Started dinner at like 6 o'clock for people to come, bring their kids or whatever, and had dinner and stayed, and it was packed. So every town is different, and that's why I'm sharing with you. I think you've got to decide what you think is going to be the most effective here.
What do people think? Is it after work at night? Is it a weekend? People most likely to come out.
I think a weekend. People are, I don't know. You know, people are so busy and they get home from work and everybody's beat from commuting.
You know what we did last time here? We had a lunch meeting. It was for the last big community meeting.
Ah.
And I remember it well because the women on the committee cooked up a storm. Chili and cornbread and Robin. Do you remember Robin organized this thing? And I mean, and it was fabulous. And it was full. The people came because there was food, right? And it was like so it was a noon type thing.
But I think on the weekend, given this is a real commuting town, I think a weekend's almost going to have to be. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards the weekend around noon, but I don't know about kids in school, athletic events, maybe that's after it. People go away, maybe they're skiing.
We can do a Saturday. We just pulled 2 weeknights out because it's so hard for us to schedule stuff, but.
We were just looking at the calendar, and the second's a school committee
Right, the
meeting.
second is a school committee meeting, but that's not, I actually, while it would affect me, we're no longer drawing crowds at the school committee.
Oh, good.
So, pretty proud of that
I mean,
myself.
I think too, we considered the last one a success, right? I mean, we were surprised by how many people showed up. We were
And it was
happy
a
with the number. I mean, of course, it would have been great to have more, but I think we thought it went really well. And
When was that again?
It was a Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday morning in
So-
November.
Okay.
A good memory.
Well,
I knew it was a Saturday morning.
I
but yes,
will
it
say, I
did.
think we
Yeah.
hit the gap, though, between the fall sports and the winter sports. So I
Yeah, so
believe.
maybe which,
This might be prime basketball season.
Yeah.
yes, but I don't know if basketball is at noon on a Saturday.
Well, it's all times, because if you're talking about, youth basketball all the way through high school, it's every second of the day.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think I would lean maybe toward a weekend day again, because it was successful.
Do we want to look at the 4th, Saturday the 4th?
Judy, that last one, we filled every table.
I know.
Are you proposing that there would be table type of discussion the same way? So that becomes a logistics, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a fabulous problem to have, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you had so many people that you are having to drag in chairs, that would be a great problem.
Yeah, so we broke people into, there was like a large group activity, and then people broke into small groups, and they got back together again. So
Right.
Yeah,
it does have
let's-
to be a space that will accommodate, tables, but
Are we taking into account school vacation week? Because
That
I
is-
trying to avoid that.
That's
I
not,
don't have children, so.
no, that's school
I have
vacation, school
grandchildren, and I can
vacation.
tell you, avoid the 25th and the 18th.
Right,
because
it's
people will
it's
be
the
away.
18th through the 26th is,
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing, the weather might want us to think about 2 dates, because you just never know.
So the 4th and 11th could,
yeah.
Could do that.
Just in case, we're not Buffalo.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
you
no,
never
actually,
know.
it's a good idea to think about a snow date, then you don't have a big panic. I mean, we could say it's going to be on the 4th, and, snow date is the 11th.
It's a good idea.
Excellent. And as for a time, are we thinking midday?
Yeah, what time?
Late morning-ish?
Late morning, like 11?
In time for
10:30?
lunch?
Lunch? Yeah.
I think that's. a
11 to
great time.
1:30. Have them come.
We'll
I
feed
think
them,
lunch is
they'll
a
be in
good idea, though.
mood.
I'm
like that.
not going to cook chili.
It was just what they did, and it was such fun. And we joked about it at the time because the women literally pulled this thing together, and it was fabulous.
I think we had
Guys ate the
little
food.
treats. We had coffee and
Oh, yeah.
little.
There were
Oh, we
there were
went-
coffee and
Good
dinner.
It was a lot of work.
Nothing motivates
It is a lot of
people
work. It
more than
is.
food.
It is. I
Yeah,
mean,
we had coffee, we had food, we had desserts, yeah,
Yeah, we put
did
a
it
lot
up.
of effort into it. It was great.
did you guys do the work, or did the town get like someone to bring food in? Like from a local
me
store?
and Emil and Kristen, the other Kristen, pretty much planned it.
Yeah.
And then our main consultant had a family emergency, so she couldn't be there. So we had to have someone step in from Weston and Sampson at the last minute. So it was a little stressful. But yeah, I think we were really happy with how it turned out. Given
Excellent.
So do you want to say, what,
expected.
like 11 to 1:30, or do you want, just give us because we're going to start putting materials together like now.
11 to 1:30.
Yeah, I
sounds
like that.
I think if you do 11 to 1, I think that sounds great. I think you've got to, to Judy's point,
already
you got to
got
call it lunch. I mean, they got to get food,
Yes.
11 to
Right.
1:30, you got to say
I was gonna say, what
lunch.
about starting at 11:30 and you eat first?
Could do that. We've also done that.
And
We've
then like it starts at 12 or
Eat
something?
social,
done that
you know,
too.
Yeah, like
get
you,
the-
because that's kind of what we did with this too, so it like broke
Yep.
the ice a little bit,
Yeah.
and you get to mingle for the
Yep.
first half hour, eat,
Yep,
Icebreaker.
They did that in Sterling.
then you start, yeah. so
Had
maybe
a
like
bunch of
11:30.
refreshments out, and people went and, actually, in their case, people came and did it was like a big open house type event.
Yeah.
And people went around to all the different boards and wrote their notes and put their sticky
That's
notes up.
exactly
And then they
what
went
we
over to this place where there was gobs of food. And they all sat down, it was in the senior center. And they all sat down with their little plate full of muffins and whatever and coffee, and everybody talked. It was like so nice. Just
It
like,
was very what you're describing is very similar to what we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Very similar feel.
Could I just jump in? So I know we said 2 dates. The 4th would be the primary date, the 11th as the snow date. I just asked because the Conservation Commission were trying to organize a much smaller scale event that we currently have. A first date as Tuesday, the 31st of January, which is a non-conflict, but a second date as the 4th right now. And we can be flexible. I just don't want to, I want to be cognizant of when our plan is for this.
Well, I'll just put this out there too, that if we're talking about the 4th or the 11th, if we did it on the 11th, there might be, I don't want to speak, I don't know, for the League of Women Voters Volunteer Fair, but there might be an opportunity to advertise at that.
That, yeah. could
no, I
be.
understand, right, it's a good point.
Like, I don't represent them in any way, so I don't know whether that
Good
would be
outreach,
true,
though.
but that does seem like a target audience.
So if we went with our primary on the 11th, would we go a week later? Is that too late? Is that school vacation?
Going to
Are we-
get school vacation,
Yeah.
people leaving for
You
vacation.
could do the 11th and the
That's why the
12th.
4th and the 11th are really,
The 12th
Oh,
is
it's
the
the
Super
12th on
Bowl.
a Sunday?
Yeah.
Just
It's a Sunday and it's the Super
I'm
Bowl.
surprised, I don't know that.
the Super Bowl. Well, the Pats won't be in it, so.
Yeah.
it's my,
The
my
Buffalo
church's
Bills,
annual
Mike.
meeting, so I will be here.
Oh, wait a minute, the Super Bowl will be at night. We could still do
Yes.
it.
I think who here has a connection to the League of Women Voters? I mean,
I
somebody.
mean, I do, but I'm not organizing this event, nor do I, but I could connect
All
with
I'm
them.
saying is
Yeah.
that when we get you content to start feeding out to people in the community, because you're going to have to help with outreach. There's no way
Yep.
consultants coming up from Hingham are going to have, a hill of beans worth of credibility here. So, if you've got contacts
Yep.
with the league, then we don't need to wait for the 8th, because they're going to get information anyway,
Right.
well in advance of the 4th.
And the 11th was the second date, right, for the
Yeah, right,
conservation? So I don't know that we have to,
Right.
push past that as well.
All right.
So there's I'm on the board of the Council on Aging, and one of my colleagues is she's in a leadership position in the League of Women Voters, so I could reach out to her. And we'll be having our meeting. It's usually it's the first Wednesday of the month, so that will be coming up. So I could chat with her.
I think that would be good, because if there is a problem with February 4th, and just in terms of outreach or whatever, I actually think we're looking at March. And the reason I say that is that it's just easy communication with people. 4th is the date, 11th is the snow date. It's just very easy. you start peppering this with different dates, people are going to forget.
Yeah.
But if you
Do it.
keep those 2 dates together, so
Sounds
if
good.
that doesn't work, then I think we're looking at March 4th and the 11th instead of February 4th and the 11th.
So 4th and 11th, 11:30 to 1:32, and we'll have lunch, we'll eat first, icebreaker.
I would say 11:30 to 2, because
Okay.
people are going to come in, they're going to eat, whatever. The meeting's going to take probably an hour and 45 minutes. That's about what it is. There's a presentation, there's the whole, I mean, there's just stuff, stuff that happens.
Exactly.
So location, I guess, is the only other,
Right.
Right.
so we brought up the COA, we brought up the middle school, did I hear?
Yeah.
What about the community house?
Well, I don't, yeah, they do have that.
I want to just say, I don't know who else attended, but the town did a visioning session for the Gordon Conwell property at the community house.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
similar,
Yeah.
sort of, and it was great. That was a great space. It was very well attended. And I also think we should, if there's an email list of that, we should send it to those people that came to that.
Yeah.
Who would have that?
Patrick, you might be able to get that.
I can do that for
Okay. We know that consultant, we've actually been in communication with them.
But that was a very good
Yeah,
space, I
yeah.
thought, too.
Which is the largest space? Do you know if the middle school
I feel like
Well, the middle school would
Is
be
larger.
larger.
is the largest?
And I think second would maybe be the Council on Aging, because it has
Yeah.
2 rooms. And then the community house. My
If you're
comment
serving lunch, the Council on Aging
has the
it
kitchen.
has a kitchen.
My comment about the community house is it's a private nonprofit, so it's not sort of the town. And I think because this is a Hamilton thing, it would be good to maybe be able to use our town resources. Just a thought, either the middle school or the Council on Aging, just a thought.
They would charge us, would they not?
I don't know. They do have rates, I just don't know.
I think we should go with the largest space, because I think that there might actually be some interest in this, now that it has
So the middle
a-
school probably then.
Yeah.
That's definitely the largest space. And they also have a kitchen, but I don't know if we'd be allowed to use it. I know we would at the Council on Aging.
But if you're thinking of setting up tables and that kind of stuff, and you want people to mingle and interact, I think the largest space is probably the best.
Well, the Council on Aging really has a lot of space. They have two big spaces, and the kitchen is quite accessible.
Okay, we need to confirm that we can get the middle school, so that's a great opportunity to have both.
Yeah.
Could you confirm about the middle school over
can do
the
that.
next week?
Yep.
Excellent. And then if we can't get the middle school, we'll shift to the Council on Aging.
Is there any opportunity to organize childcare so that parents with small children could bring their kids? Perhaps a high school?
maybe, they do that, I don't know, but they do that for town
A
meeting.
meeting?
The National Honor Society does that.
Right, right. So
So I don't know, but I can ask.
could you find out?
Yeah.
I hate to dump a lot of stuff on you, but where you have the contact with the schools, it would be super helpful.
Yeah, I don't know whether they'd be willing to do that, but it's not unprecedented, so
Right.
maybe.
Be worth asking. I mean, this is one of the great challenges with trying to schedule any of these in-person events, is that people want to be together, and it's understandable, but we've managed to do a fabulous job of designing town government in a way that excludes a lot of people.
Yes.
And, sometimes we've had discussions about trying to do sort of parallel meetings on Zoom at another time with mixed results. I mean, sometimes it's, people join and sometimes they don't. But I do worry about a situation where people who have an investment in the future of the town may not be able to participate unless we can figure out how to accommodate their kids. So it's just something to consider.
I think there's enough space at the middle school. I think if that's a realistic issue, then that would be the better location, the middle school.
Yeah, well, and certainly in terms of the childcare, that's the same building where they do it for town
Right,
meetings. so
right.
they would-
Right,
I actually
exactly.
I've never used the childcare, I don't know exactly how it works, but they've obviously figured it out. for
The
town
parents
meetings, so.
typically have to sign a release and so forth. I mean, there's just, every school department, I think, has figured this out.
Yep.
So is the space the cafeteria?
Yeah, that's where the meeting would be, and there, maybe, a classroom
Right.
or
Exactly.
adjacent room could be used for the kids, and there's so much there to entertain them, so
Yeah.
that's a great
But,
idea.
yeah, we also would create an activity for them too,
God, you're
so
good.
that kids can actually talk about their town.
Okay.
So the format would be presentation and then breakout groups?
Yes, so we would bump the check-in and refreshments to about 30 minutes now to accommodate for lunch, and then presentation would take about 20 minutes, an introduction to the master plan, rather a reintroduction, and then an outline of the scope, especially with the visioning focus through our scope here. The opening activity, I'll run through those in a minute, but it's kind of an icebreaker, large group. We're not splitting up yet. We need people to get moving, blood flowing. They just ate whatever, these sandwiches. We don't want them to be lethargic. After that, we go through a small group activity, 20 to 30 minutes, and reporting out. So we ask one member from each group, tell us what you heard, and then that really wraps it up. People will then linger, and we'll try and get as much as we can from that sort of conversation, because that's also very vital, but that's not necessarily built into the format. To walk you through some of the opening activities, you guys can pick tonight. Y'all are lucky. We can also talk about this as we get closer if we want to give other folks the opportunity. You can play a game called Hamilton This or That. You're answering a yes or no question, and you're moving to different sides of the room, right? So,
That's cute.
did you grow up in Hamilton? Yes or no, right? Do you have children in the Hamilton Wenham schools? Yes or no? Where do you buy groceries? Do you buy them in Hamilton? Yes or no? We're moving. People may be surprised about different results. Another option is the human barometer. There's more than 2 options, right? So yes, unsure, no. And then in this activity, people actually get called on, right? So if we ask something like, what is one thing you think every newcomer should know about Hamilton? That's not necessarily a yes, no, or unsure question.
Right.
We still get a lot of discussion, and then you can talk with people around you. So these are 2 options for opening activities. Do we have any potential leanings? We can keep running through them as well.
My opinion is that this or that is very neutral and
Right.
fun. And
Okay.
I see potential for hot topics.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Oh, there's gonna be
yes.
hot topics. It's fun.
Yeah, I like the Hamilton this or that.
Is there anything you'd put in there for this or that, other than the 4 bullets?
Oh, yeah, you got to have a horse question in there.
We will definitely have a lot of questions, and
Ask you for input.
as we get closer, you'll get more emails from Patrick and I of asking for you to nominate questions, whether that be about horses. I'm not too familiar with them. So hopefully you can help me out.
Clearly, she doesn't live in Hamilton.
Oh, she doesn't.
We can play.
Quincy
pin the
doesn't
tail.
have too many. So after
You don't
that,
play polo?
I don't play polo. My boarding school days did not introduce me to polo. I did other things.
Never too late.
We would
They'll
then
hook
bring.
you up, don't you worry.
All right. We would then split people into small group activities. It kind of depends how small the group is, depending on how many people show that day. I think a great number can span from 6 to 10. 10's a little bit big, but we'll see. There's a couple options for this. So our first one is value mapping, where we connect the physical aspects of Hamilton to community values. People love physical planning, okay? Getting down to the map, pointing out things is what people love to do. While we're not necessarily focused on any area, it's really important that people can spread out and start these conversations of what does the Patton Homestead mean to you? What does this open space mean to you? Because these are physical places, but why are you protecting them? That's the value statement that's going to guide the vision plan. And as a framework, we want to make sure that people are really driven in these values so it can come together at the end, right?
Yeah, it's not just what do you like, it's why. It's what does this do for your community?
Why are they important?
Yeah.
What sort of memories do you have here? All of those conversation pieces really are different from individual to family to someone who's been here their entire life, right? So we want to get down to those feelings so then we can connect them to a specific value. Another option is to go into small groups once more and have people rotate through different stations, one being protect, one being provide, and one being grow. So once again, we're getting people moving after their sandwiches, but we're asking them what they want this plan to help provide, what they want it to help protect, and then the growth there is important because change is going to happen. It's how you respond and look at the controllables, right? And guide that. So it's a big part of the iteration. Not only do they go through and they write down their thoughts, what their conversation covered, but they go through once more at the end to kind of get a bearing of what other folks said. Because once you get to a new station, there's going to be points on the board or on flip charts, and you're going to be able to respond to those. Either that be with the stickers to, rank certain ideas and act as though you're agreeing by putting up a sticker, or you can then have another conversation and a facilitator can write down those comments of what that response meant to a group of people. So
Or
this,
actually add content. too,
Right.
yeah.
right, so this is a bit longer.
Sorry. I did just want to share that this is pretty much how we framed the last meeting. And so I would be a little concerned to do the same thing again, because for those who overlap, I think it would become very evident where we stand in the process. But like what you just described with the stickies and the rank voting and the protect, grow, provide, it's exactly what we did. So I think I would try to steer us in a different direction,
Okay.
so it feels different.
Right.
We're trying to get the same content, right?
Right.
But frame it in a different way so it feels new and different
Right.
for those who overlap.
Part of the problem we have is that we weren't there and we don't really know all that happened. We
Yeah.
have a memo on it, but
Yeah.
we don't really have all the
Because this is
results.
valuable, I think, and I wasn't there either, sorry.
And who knows, maybe there won't be anyone who was there the last time, but if you were and you remembered it, it would just feel like a repeat of what's already been done, and I think that'd be really disappointing. I think we sort of want to smoke and mirrors. We're still trying to get the same content, but we're going to frame it differently so you don't think you're having the same conversation again.
Was there any way to position the first meeting as, hey, here's what we heard in our first attempt, and here's how we want to drill deeper?
Yeah, that's the big thing, is that they did a whole video for that, which will give you the outline.
So we have a memo. That's what we have.
Right.
It's not a lot. That's why we're pitching this and we're fumbling through this slide exactly because we just didn't know what they asked. We have the results in a word cloud format, but it wasn't very specific.
I actually think what you just said is actually might be really kind of powerful to just make a statement like that and say like, we've got the beginnings of it and we want to go
Yeah,
deeper.
we're gonna drill in now.
That might do a lot of work in the meeting. Like if you were a person who was like, I feel like I did this already. I'd be like,
I mean, is there any way to see what we heard in those three categories, if those are them? What do people want to
I
protect?
feel like
Where'd
there
they
were
wanna go?
pictures. Someone took pictures of all of the flip charts.
yeah, someone did.
So we just need to figure out who that was.
might
Not been able to
advice to Ben
find
West
them.
and
I don't
Sam
know,
said that.
I don't know what
I
happened.
have pictures from the event. I will go back and see if I have pictures of the flip
I
charts.
do remember someone doing that, but I
Yeah.
sort of think it might have been
A
the
Weston and Sampson
consultant
person.
taking
Okay.
the pictures.
I will dig through our files once more, and if we can create large visuals that are there and ready for when people walk in, maybe they see them when they're eating their sandwiches, and they're able to kind of review some of that, it could be helpful, right? And then it's a visual perspective, and we say, today we're going deeper, right? That could be,
Difficulty it creates for us is when we started talking to the town about coming in to help move this project along, the message we got very loud and clear was that these three concepts were really important to this committee. We need content to add to, this is like the scaffold, right? We don't have really anything to work with. So we're kind of operating at a handicap here in that we know work was done, but we weren't part of it. We don't have any record from it.
And I don't want to speak for other people, but I think you're right. This is really important to this committee, the protect, provide, and grow. And it is a really useful framework. I think you're going to get really good conversations, even though
Would it be
Some of it's been done
possible to
before.
do both?
Do what?
To have your value mapping and your protect, provide, and grow? So you'd have your tables divided by those activities. So people who may have been at the first meeting could do the value mapping, and people could just self-select what was important to them. Just a way around this conundrum. because I understand that you need the information. If you don't have the information, we have to get it somehow. I don't know that anyone, I was at that first meeting, and I don't, to do it over again wouldn't really bother me, because I don't remember that framework set forth so clearly. I just remember having great discussions at the table that I was at. But I was just thinking, cut the baby in half if possible without killing it. But we might kill it, so.
Actually, as I'm remembering, I don't think that we had arrived at this three-legged stool.
I don't think you
Yeah, no, I
had.
don't think we did either.
So
This,
I
in fact, is something.
have notes from Emil and me and
Glad.
Kristen's meeting, so I'll go back and
Yeah,
find
but
them.
I don't
I
know if
think
that
the
was
focus.
structured.
Right, I think Marnie is on target, though. I think the people that attended, who weren't the planning people, are going to just remember, oh, I had these really good conversations. They're not
yeah.
going to likely remember,
No,
at least,
Yeah, it wasn't, if that structure was present, it was not particularly obvious to the participants.
Didn't Jim send us that stuff? I thought he sent us
He did.
the photos of the pieces of paper with all the stuff on it. We got a lot of data back from that.
Well, we
Well,
need it. We need it, and we don't have it. I mean,
So should we drop that in the Dropbox as well? Do
Yes.
people have pictures
you've
of
got
notes?
it.
And maybe have a section for, anything from prior meeting?
You must have that. My computer's being rebuilt in Houston right now, so I can't.
Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah, Houston's got a big problem.
No, I think it's foundational. I mean, if we can't capture what was said then as a group, I'm sure the average citizen doesn't have it all together in these three buckets.
And we would hope to get optimistically, we'd hope to get a much larger and increase the diversity of the crowd, so we'll see, but.
I mean, ideally, if we had some stickers already up there that maybe spoke to, here's what we heard, so people don't think we're starting at square one, but hey, we want to keep going with this.
I will re-look back through.
I think it'd be worthwhile, Patrick, because I think they sent us all that stuff. And it's too bad Kristen's not here, because I think she's our backup on this thing.
Yeah, she had looked through her records. I remember we talked about this, and she couldn't find a lot of information. So for instance, the list of people who attended that forum.
I have the list of attendees, of people that
attended.
signed in, the sign-in
Oh, that's
sheet.
great.
That's great.
So reach
yeah.
out to them.
And
I mean,
the
I
sign-
think if you remember, which other people may have
And the
haven't.
notes. We have notes.
Oh, good.
Yep, I have a very long document.
Wow.
Yes.
So we'll get that
So
to
we
you.
did, we did like,
With the glamour shots.
what to enhance, how to grow.
Should we do a team photo?
So we were starting to move in that direction.
okay, so here's what we'll do. When we send you the Dropbox to share, I'm going to have a folder in it, first community meeting. Whatever you have from it, dump it in that subfolder.
Okay.
We'll do our best with it.
Can I
I
just,
can certainly respect that you don't want to have people feel like they're duplicating an activity.
No, it's a
On the other
valid
hand, I
concern.
don't want to skip over something that's going to make it then hard for us to, I don't mean to be
And I'm-
self-centered about this, but we got a job to do, so.
No, and I'm not saying, I think what I'm just trying to say is maybe we change the framing, but we're still asking the same questions. We're still trying to get at the same content. And like I just said, it was more like what to enhance and what to protect. What did I just say? So it was, we were getting close to this, but it wasn't exactly this. So maybe this is fine. I just, I just want to make sure it feels different enough.
Sure.
And if that's just in
I
the
understand.
framing, that's
Yeah,
okay.
If you have that paperwork, and I think we've got it. I wish I could get it for you.
can I just ask I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I say, we had a bizarre Dropbox experience with the first go-round, and I suspect that's where things got lost. Initially, they had told us everything was going to be in the Dropbox, and then we had a lot of problems with it, and I know my experience was that the Dropbox kept saying, your Dropbox is full, you need to sign up for a new, like, pay, it was like a paywall, you had to, and so people started saying, well, this is weird, and then they switched to a different, a Google Docs system. But I suspect that that information is in the Dropbox that we.
Well, I've got the Google Drive, I was just looking at it, that Jim sent me, and the only thing that's in it from the first community meeting is the memo that you referred to.
Right.
And there's a copy of an engagement plan, but there's nothing else in there. So,
So she sent it, I just think that, I will get my own tech support if I can't figure out the Dropbox, but it was weird.
Right.
like, that the Dropbox ought to be owned by you.
So we have
Like,
the
it shouldn't
ability to
be- Each
share-
individual member shouldn't have to be upgrading their Dropbox
Right.
capacity in order
We would just
to,
share a
like,
folder with you.
Correct.
You wouldn't
That's-
then be in our account. I mean, it
Right.
would just be one folder.
And just one of the other criticisms was that even when we did have the Dropbox, things were thrown in there haphazardly. They weren't labeled, and that was, you may have seen that. I don't know if you did or not, but it was really frustrating and confusing. So if things could be dated and headed with something that's going to make sense, that would make our journey through Dropbox a lot easier. It was pretty confusing last time.
Sounds great, and we can definitely manage that for you.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
I've
great.
just got 3 folders in here now. Documents for committee review, which is going to be empty for a while, because I don't have any documents for you yet.
Okay.
First community meeting, anything you find from that meeting, dump in that subfolder.
Okay.
And then the third one is photographs.
Okay.
And then we can split that one up between headshots and photos of Hamilton. So
Shots.
that's great. So that's what I have for the 2 small group activities. We can also, once we get more information, create visuals and then an area where people can write down their ideas in these 3 frameworks, and then still have the value mapping as a small breakout group. I'm worried about taking value mapping and protect, provide, grow and splitting them in half, because then some folks will say, well, I didn't get to play with the maps, and they want to do the hands-on map work.
Could you go back to the value mapping again?
Of course. So there will be other questions here as well, and conversations will kind of move organically, but we will also look to you to highlight specific institutions in town that do derive a certain value or a certain kinship with Hamilton.
So, Kristen, I think that this is framed a little bit differently than what we did, and I see your point, and I see that they are approaching it perhaps just a little bit differently. I think, yeah.
This, totally. It
Yeah.
was the next slide that
Yeah,
I felt
yeah.
was too
Right.
maybe too similar, maybe not.
Right, but you're saying, if I understand, you're saying you would be doing one, your original presentation was to do this or that.
Or the other. Right,
And I think we're
so-
saying that the provide, protect, provide and grow sounds like where we want to go with this, right? Is that
Right.
what we, right?
It'll be incorporated into this,
Like,
right?
yeah, you could
Yeah.
still use the protect, grow, and provide framework, but we know about that, not necessarily the
Right,
attendees.
right.
But it's the value mapping questions that we use to then tie to protect, grow,
Yes,
provide.
exactly.
But maybe we're not framing the meeting that way because it was sort of framed that way last time. So it's just sort of, we know about that behind the scenes, but maybe we just talk about it a little bit differently in the way we're
Yeah.
asking the questions.
Yeah.
I mean, the value part might come out of this discussion without even framing it, like, what do you want to
Right,
protect?
exactly,
The other way,
exactly.
yep.
So, right, so
Homestead or,
Carly has a lot of sort of
yeah.
things to
I
think
like
about
this,
to put into it. How do we protect? And the questions you're asking in the value mapping will correlate with what we want to protect.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Do we want to leave, like, have thought-provoking questions on a sheet that people can just fill out and leave behind that could lead to values? Hey, what do you think of Patton Homestead, blah, blah, blah.
So
Might
that.
not come out in a discussion like that, but some may just while they're eating or talking.
Right.
Or
In a small group activity, we will ask one of you to help one of us, while we lead the conversation and discussion, to take notes, to make sure that we have this all written down in shorthand, just so we can go back to it, as well as we'll have maps that are written on and documented. So that'll be a big part of our documentation process. I will take this, move along with our notes, and then make sure that it's all in order for the meeting with these components. We just don't want you guys to come in and we're asking for help and you have no idea what this will look like on the day of.
Right.
Can you take a blank piece of paper out of that pad and circulate it and ask people to sign in and write their email address down?
Good idea.
Could I just ask a question, and I apologize, it may have been answered, but I wasn't doing my personal email. I actually went to the Google Drive that Weston and Sampson had created, and so I have notes from the visioning workshop. I think there may have been pictures associated with it, but they're different sheets, and I assume the sheets are from the different tables, and they have ideas and concepts as to what people would like to.
So for some reason, that stuff is not in the Google Drive I got from Jim.
Really?
Therefore, what I'm asking you to do is to get that stuff in the Dropbox.
I think
can
they've
actually-
stopped using Dropbox.
I
I
can
think that's
actually
what
forward
happened.
it to your email right now.
You can forward it to my email.
Okay.
Or both, who knows?
What is your email?
And we are all on Patrick's
Patrick, I
got
just
for this
sent you
meeting.
two.
I don't know if you
Yes.
guys are, but.
Excellent.
I can
All
send
of our
it as a
names and-
text
Yes.
message.
I've now gotten
Someone wants to give me
Excellent. Thank you
phone
so
number.
much.
So it's Judy, Judi.
I can do
Oh.
it as a text message. So
Okay,
if you give-
781.
Oh, you know what, you're on,
Oh,
I
six.
wouldn't give your phone number. I wouldn't give your
Six.
phone, you're on a, you're,
That's true.
yeah.
What's anybody going to do with it? I
Okay,
mean,
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Sign you up for some service. I don't know.
6045,
781, sorry, go ahead.
206,
206.
6045.
Patrick, I just.
Somebody harasses me, they'll be very sorry for it.
And we'll find out if your phone's on
Oh,
silent.
I was gonna wait. I
Since
had
we're
an
here
idea.
and I'm like finding them, forward.
Good idea.
Presentation.
What?
Jim should have given you that video presentation.
Well, he gave me a lot of stuff, it's just for some reason, I don't have that, so. And what I don't want to do is spend forever trying to track this stuff down. At some point, I just got to say, this is what we've got to work with, and we're going to keep going, because we could spend forever trying to find stuff from a year ago and not get anything done.
Let me know if that doesn't work.
Kristen Piper, you now have it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
That's amazing.
That's all I have
Randomly found it, so.
for our agenda items, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
That's all we have for our agenda items tonight.
I was going to ask if, will this be on HWCAM? Will it be Zoom? Is it just an in-person type of meeting?
I think at first we want to make sure the reintroduction is an in-person, making sure people are coming back to the table, they see us, we inspire confidence, right? We get as many members of the steering committee there as possible. We
Okay.
really butter them up with food, coffee.
There you go. Okay, great. And do we want to talk about, so you're going to check on the schools and the timing, make sure the availability, we got the 4th, and we got a backup date, we're going to check on daycare. Food we can talk about later, I guess, but.
Yes,
I
food
mean,
can be
it's not that far
negotiated.
away, right? So
Right.
I
Oh,
just want
it's
to make sure
soon.
like, is there anything we should be doing for that meeting, or is that
We
your
will, we will give
show?
you assignments.
Once you secure the location and we have a time, we make sure that's ready, an email chain about food would be great.
Okay.
All right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a calendar. The meeting is X. Working backwards, these are the things that need to happen.
Backwards calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Excellent.
Sounds like fun, doesn't it?
I'm excited.
So we're going to keep it the 4th as our primary date, and the 11th will be our snow
date.
date. Okay, I think that's a really good idea.
So the only thing we didn't talk about is outreach planning. Is there something we want to start talking about with community members or like we talked about the League of Women Voters, that's great. I don't know if we can do a PSA announcement at a school meeting or selectman meeting
one of
or
the best
anything
things
that.
you guys could do is just start writing down and email it to Carly or me or Tyler. Who do you interact with? I mean, what's your circle of influence?
When it
we
comes
can all
to
tell 10
affiliation.
friends.
Yeah, and 10 enemies.
Yeah.
So that'll really attract people.
True.
In order for us to kind of plan the outreach, we kind of have to be able to see who you all are connected with, and then figure out if there's holes.
Yep.
Which you guys are going to be in a better position to help us identify than we're going to do on our own. But if we can kind of put together a spreadsheet with input from you guys, this is what you told us, and who's missing? And you're probably going to know right away.
So, maybe I'm wrong, but Carly, I thought when this occurred last time, we had talked about a Zoom. Am I off base here? I thought initially we talked about a Zoom meeting. So I have gathered a bunch of people who are interested in attending the Zoom.
Like interviews, you mean?
Yeah, or a Zoom to sort of just do the community outreach. So I will just, I'll hold on to their emails
Okay.
and invite them to this, right?
That would be great, yes.
And the other thing I'm thinking of is, as I had mentioned, I'm on the board of the COA, and we will get that notice into, I guess, the February newsletter. If there are some specifics as to what time it will be lunch. Some seniors might think that would be fun to come for lunch. It's during the day, they'll bring their friends, you know.
Right,
So
right.
thinking about that, so.
Sounds fantastic. And I'll make a delightful graphic with the nice photos you all send. And then we'll get that right
Photos.
back out to you.
Those
Okay.
photos are key. I mean, for reasons I'm sure you can understand.
Absolutely.
You need art for these things. You can't just and you don't want to see another store that's in Wenham. So we know that you will make it accurate.
So, so you were saying, in other words, like you want us to send you an email that says like that, like I'm connected with the League of Women Voters and the Council on Aging and the Conservation Commission,
We're going to
whatever.
put it in a spreadsheet.
Our affiliations, right?
Yes.
Affiliations, yeah.
Okay, okay.
That's
We're
great.
sort of already doing that for the profile on the
Right.
website.
Yeah, that's true.
So you don't necessarily, for the website, need to say that you belong to this organization, but for the case of outreach, we would love to know all organizations you attend regularly, that you just are a part of because your kid plays this soccer league, right? So,
Yeah.
Like it.
Okay.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other committee business before we talk about a next meeting? We should review or go over? We've got some homework.
I just wanted to add, we should know by next week if we're going to be able to use the middle school space, because there are always deadlines for the newsletter for the COA. I think it's, I don't remember exactly. It's maybe the first week of the month or something like that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're really up, I mean, because we're talking about February 4th, right? So like, that, I was gonna, so we'll do it as quick as we can, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I'll send it tonight, send the email tonight.
okay, thank you.
A lot of them are out of pocket this week, probably.
Right, this is like, right, there's not a, yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, if you can just let us know, that'd be great. So how many meetings should we have in between now and then? 1, 2, none? At least one.
so I'm willing to host a Zoom office hours.
Yeah.
So as long as we're below quorum,
Yep.
we can assign shifts. Some of you sign on at 4 o'clock, some of you sign on at 6. And then we talk about the details, right? We talk about if you got okay with the school, we got if COA is coming, maybe if they have a dial-a-ride or a bus running that day, just in case people need transit to get there. If that's a detail we want to talk about, we can that time. And we can set up a date for that as well.
It might be really ideal if maybe 2 of you sort of functioned formally or informally as an outreach subcommittee. Just something to consider. That way, we don't run into a quorum problem. If Carly's trying to communicate with the committee, schedules an office hour appointment. We do this with another project, and it's been great. It's just 2 of you.
What's
Here's
our
what we
quorum
need,
number?
Here's what we've got. So,
Gosh, how many of
I
us
don't
are
even know
there?
how much, I don't even know how many.
12?
How many people are on the committee total, Patrick?
I think we do have 12.
9, and then we just added 3 more, so 12. So quorum is what, 6?
So that'd be
7.
7.
7, okay.
Do the 3 of them count as part of that? No?
No.
Okay. So that's a pretty good sizable group. We could do groups of 5 or whatever.
How does January 11th sound for that Zoom meetings?
What day of the week is that?
That's a
So-
Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'm just a nightmare tonight. So January 11th at 6:30 is a quintuple board meeting, which is both select boards, both FinComs, and the school committee.
Crossing that one off.
Budget
Take a
discussion to me.
suggestion. Why don't you give them, you can email it to Patrick or to all of them, 2 options. And then, you may not be available at one time, but you're available the other.
Oh, yeah, and I wasn't trying to, it's fine if I'm not available. I was just saying that might be a complicated evening.
A little figment here is that I will be out
That's
from
right.
the 12th
Oh.
to the 28th.
Okay. Hmm.
So, which further underscores why we need to make sure we've got contact with you guys and that
Right.
we can sort of help you.
I threw my phone number on that list too, so feel
Yeah,
free to.
I followed your lead on that.
Okay.
So if we had on the 11th, on January 11th, what if
Hopefully
you
since
had a
we'll go
meeting
now.
sort of in the afternoon kind of thing? If there were some people who were available?
Yeah, one of the days can be January 11th. Write that down, then we'll make sure we get one more that other folks can attend as well. So
Yeah.
we'll make sure that we don't go over 7.
So are you saying just Zoom, or would you come
Just
here? and
Zoom.
some- Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to fight that traffic.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
okay.
also got to manage the budget, but I mean, Zoom is
I
fine.
wouldn't mind
and-
sitting in on all of it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just let you know. I think the real issue is by January 11th, serious outreach needs to be starting in order to then be ready to do this meeting on February 4th. It's not much time,
That's like a minute.
not much
Yeah,
time.
I think we'll start talking, I'll start talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the sooner you can get us your affiliations with your headshot and so forth, the better.
I have an idea of a poster to put in some of the shops around town.
So-
Contacts there, and that would be a good way to advertise it.
That's what we did last time. We had 8x11 posters that we put up all over town. We had Facebook. I mean, I have a whole outreach plan that I could share with you all. I have a run of show from the day and how we were framing it. Like, I have so much I can share if it's useful.
I think
But-
that's great.
But
Something in
yes,
Crosby's window.
we
and-
did Mother's Club. We put it up in storefronts. We sent it out to all the newsletters. Someone wrote for the Salem News. Wasn't there a post in the Salem News? I mean, we really did some significant outreach.
Which is great, and I
Yeah.
mean, and we can help with posters.
Yeah.
We can do all that stuff when you get us pictures.
Yes.
Um,
Well, Weston and Sampson created it. We were responsible for going around town
I'll
and
make
putting
one
it
up.
up. Yeah. Yeah. So we could just kind of follow the same plan as last time. And
Fine.
I will go home and forward everything that seems like it might be useful for anything.
All right.
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Do we have a budget, Patrick?
For what?
For anything, food, anything that comes up, posters, mailings, anything
So
we
what
might need or
we
not?
would do is we would send you a PDF.
Okay, and we
of a
print it and
poster,
hang
and
it.
then you guys have to figure out, printing and stuff.
And food will,
That's gonna come out of the town manager's budget.
okay.
We're going to have a nice
Mr.
lunch.
Chairman, can I ask the consultant a question?
Sure, go ahead, Jack.
Weston and Sampson was supposed to produce minutes of these meetings, and we never saw a minute. Will there be a meeting minute?
We are not doing meeting minutes.
Is anybody, well...
Who does
we
our
don't-
minutes?
You have to decide that internally. We are not doing minutes. I specifically did not put that in my scope of work.
All right, because that was the question, and it would be useful to have a list of tasks from this meeting, for example, which
Right.
would have been part of those minutes, but,
And so,
All right, well, at
sometimes
least-
we did that internally at action-heavy meetings. I would write down the follow-ups and then email them out. I didn't do that tonight, but we would
Aren't we
do that in the
required to provide
past.
minutes of every meeting?
Really are supposed to.
Yes.
Supposed to be on file with the town clerk.
Yep.
So do we need to organize somebody to take minutes, or a rotation, or something like that?
Yeah, probably should.
Well, now we've been 2 hours into this meeting.
I mean, they don't have to be super detailed. If
No.
you take an action, it needs to be listed, and
Right, I
Capture
mean,
the outline and
just
some
take the
actions.
agenda and add notes to it, and there's your minutes.
That and votes.
Votes.
Yeah.
Interested?
Right.
Yeah, actions.
I mean, I think
votes.
the
You're
only,
really good
I
at
think
it.
the only vote we took tonight was the
I
chair.
know you are. Jack does minutes for our Capcom.
Oh, well, he's experienced.
Oh, Jack,
Jack.
have you been doing
It's like an
minutes
author.
tonight?
I think it's being recorded. You can watch it on HWCam. No?
Is it being recorded? Should we record it? Is there someone on the
Yeah, it's
town
on
payroll that could
HWCam.
capture minutes from a recorder?
All of our meetings have been recorded.
And you can watch them on HWCam.
Them all on Zoom. Several of them have also been on YouTube with HWCam.
Mhm.
So,
The task list for this meeting, you could get out of the people who did not attend if you want to really get this thing covered somehow.
So do we have somebody who would like to be a,
We never found a volunteer.
I'll vote for the rotating schedule.
so are there 3 people that we could get on a rotation? Anybody, any volunteers?
Could I nominate somebody?
Are they here?
Yes, yes.
Sure.
Kristen, you're so awesomely detail-oriented. I would wonder if you would.
I have 2 small children that I have to get to right now, actually. I don't know. It feels like a big responsibility to take.
It
Well,
is
we
a-
could
it is a
take
big one.
turns.
I will think about that nomination. I do not accept it at this time.
Anybody
that?
else? So we have a maybe.
All right, the question is to take minutes and send out,
Action items.
Action items, yeah.
That's really the gist. It's really, I like the idea of taking the agenda, adding some
Yeah.
bullets under each,
All right.
Really all you
what
need
we
to
spoke
do.
about, and then next steps, basically.
Right.
We're going to come back together on the 11th. People are going to provide a headshot.
Right.
Do we have a group email that's easy, or are we just replying to old ones, or?
rather than doing reply all, we try not to do that. So just send it to me
And you'll, okay.
and I disperse it.
I would normally take this on, but just for today, I'm leaving at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, so I'm a little bit like,
So we need somebody to come up with some minutes from this meeting. Okay, I'll do it.
All right, and then we'll put this on the agenda for next
Right.
meeting on a road.
normally,
Think about it.
Normally, I would be happy to do
Let's
it.
put it
I
in
think
the topic, next steps, identify 3 people on a rotational schedule to take minutes.
Thank you.
It'd be nice to have minutes. I'll help.
Okay, Bill's on the road.
Oh, no, I'll take that. I have a large
Yeah,
responsibility
you
as
can't-
chair.
Yeah, you can't help.
I'll help out. Not a problem.
Who's that?
That's great.
Volunteering?
Gregory
Thank you.
Keller, thank you.
Sure.
So are you volunteering permanently or just to be in the rotation?
Just to be in the rotation until I get to know all of you, and
Okay,
then I'll be more than happy to take over.
okay.
To
Appreciate
keep them
that.
up along
Thank
the way.
you.
I'm happy to be in the rotation as well. I like that there's not a permanent.
Yeah, rotation is good.
Just need a third. I just made that number up.
I nominate.
I think we have enough to get started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll do it tonight and then we'll
Okay. Appreciate that. Rosemary?
see how I do.
All right. So the next time we come together is the 11th then, or via Zoom?
The 11th is via Zoom, but not quorum, so then you need another date for the next steering committee meeting.
Okay, so, and we want that before the larger meeting?
You really should have a meeting before the large meeting, because we're going to need to talk through a bunch of coordination stuff.
Wednesdays work for me. I don't know if there's another day of the week for others. I mean, I guess we'd be looking at either the 18th or the 25th, or some other day of the week. The 25th might be pushing it, because that's, a week away, week
Yeah,
and
I
a half
think-
away.
And that's getting very close too.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not available on the 18th.
Okay.
You guys can do that meeting with them.
We can be flexible. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just, you know what, town meeting season, you know about town meeting season? I'm just looking at my calendar and I'm laughing about meetings that are going to start plugging in. But there's no reason why they can't meet with you, Tyler and Carly, because they're going to be doing probably the lion's share of pulling all this together anyway. So the only thing I would just ask for is, because there's going to be a big, heavy lift involved in this meeting on the 4th. It's going to be the 4th. We're going to be optimistic, right? Can we have our next, working meeting with you guys on Zoom? Can we just do it remotely? Or you can be here in the room, but maybe we join remotely?
On the,
The January meeting, just because we're going to be here on a Saturday in February, and it's going to be kind of a big, heavy lift for us to do that. So I'm just asking if our next meeting with you, can we meet with you remotely?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I don't know if
I'm
others
okay with that as well.
It's just as a working meeting like this.
Yeah, that's fine.
from Hawaii or
Sadly, no.
Saturday.
No, I wish.
We'll celebrate there when we're done.
So do you want to meet then on the 18th? Is that what you're
And I
saying?
threw that date out, but I'm not.
Is there another
I'm good
date
that week, actually.
that's
Oh.
better for
Yeah.
everybody?
Oh, God.
The 18th works for me. It's not, doesn't work
Yeah,
for
Martin
Judy.
Luther King Day. I don't have a meeting that night. Sorry. That wasn't funny. I think you should go ahead and schedule it with these two, and if I can join, I will. I mean, I have a meeting with Andover on the 18th, and if it's remote, I can probably join you, but I don't know right now. I don't know, so.
So what time, are we looking at 6:30?
6:30 works for me.
Works for me. It's a lot of meetings in a row.
You'll be away, sir, yes,
Okay.
with internet connection. I'm just kidding.
So before that meeting, we'll get out to all of you a list of, these are things that somebody needs to do,
Okay.
before the meeting and at the meeting, okay? And you can sign up for jobs.
And the existing condition stuff, there's nothing we need to think about or
Not right now.
look at, even the old
Or you
ones?
just
Okay.
need to let me be in pain with this for a while.
Okay.
So really, we just need to be sending headshots.
Yes.
Headshots,
And
affiliations, checking on the school, and then the 11th is a standing date, but I'll provide one other, so there's not any boards or committees that night,
And pictures,
and plenty of pictures.
non-headshot pictures.
Do
Desperately
you
need them.
want email addresses of people we think, or just affiliations that we belong to or associated
Just
with?
affiliations for now.
Affiliations.
Because we're not going to be doing the outreach, you are.
We will be, okay.
Yeah. It's going to matter coming from you. It doesn't matter coming from us. They don't know who we are.
Okay,
We go straight to spam, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
fair
And so
enough.
we're getting the Dropbox link from Patrick.
I was actually going to send it myself tonight.
Oh, okay, great, all right.
And Patrick, I'll include Patrick, but we'll send it. We don't have everybody's email addresses, but at least get it out to you now.
Okay.
You were here, so.
Do you have the Zoom people?
I don't know if we have,
I think there was an email sent earlier as a reminder. I'll put that all into an Excel sheet, and then
Thanks.
we'll have the emails.
yeah.
So
Thank you,
Judy,
good point.
you're talking about a list of jobs for the event on February 4th, right?
On and before.
Yes.
Posters, email,
Food.
phone calls, making sure that, somebody needs to make sure the selectmen announce the meeting at their meeting because their meetings are televised and so people will hear it there. School committee, people.
Planning board.
Groups that meet and it's on Hamilton Cable should be announcing the meeting, should be talking it up. There's all those kinds of things that need to be done. So we'll put all that together. It's like the jobs list, right? And then at the meeting, there's facilitators, there's sign-in table, there's setup, there's cleanup, there's food, there's whatever. I mean, we'll just put together a jobs list and you guys can sort out who's going to do what. But, I mean, there is a lot to do.
Yeah.
So are we looking to do that on the 18th?
Yeah, we'll get the list out to you before that meeting.
Right, so we'll talk it through and fill in
Yes,
names.
Yeah,
Okay,
you should be prepared on the 18th to say what you can do.
okay,
Because it's only a few weeks from that date that we're talking about doing this.
right. Fair enough.
Okay.
Any questions?
All right, so, and Rosie, you're going to distribute this out, we're going to get it to the folks on the Zoom?
Yeah, I'll just email it to everybody,
Email what?
the minutes.
Oh, or did we want to go through him, or do you want to email to everyone? I didn't know if you said you want to go through you and everything.
Just make sure that Patrick's
Should
CC'd.
probably send it to me.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Right, well, the minutes would, the minutes specifically would be a draft, right? And then we would
Yeah,
vote
we
on
got to
them.
approve them, true. True.
They're going to be brief, believe me.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
Are we ready for a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Can we do that, or do we have to say
Aye.
names?
Oh,
Okay, let's go around the horn,
We have to
starting with
do a
you.
roll call.
Jack Lawrence, aye.
Marty Crouch, aye.
Rosie Kennedy, aye.
Bill Wilson, aye.
Dana Alera, aye.
Kristen Piper, aye.
Greg Keller, aye.
On the board? Who else?
Ted Ackworth, aye.
Lauren,
Probably had to jump
Lauren
off.
had to leave.
Okay. All right, we're adjourned. Thank
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Good job.